is going on, everybody? It's Weather with Jonathan here, back again with another weather forecast. And in this video, we have got a lot to talk about, so let's jump straight into the forecast. So starting off with today, we do have a lot of things for today, but the main thing we do have to talk about is our severe weather. So we do have a marginal risk for portions of the eastern Great Basin, or western Utah and eastern Nevada. Now, this is only mainly for wind and maybe a very small hail threat. Then we have a big slight risk that extends all the way from the northeastern corner of New Mexico all the way up into just about Canada. So this is a very big slight risk. Now, we do have a lot of threats expected with this, okay? So our hail risk, we do have a 15% significant for western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota. This is where we expect very large hail, possibly even 3 inches or bigger in diameter. So you guys really got to pay attention to that. And then we also have another 15% significant for hail in central Nebraska. We also do expect some very big hail there, possibly up to 3 inches in diameter, maybe even larger. Then we do have a 5% tornado risk up in northern Minnesota and portions of northwestern Wisconsin. Now, the reason this is here is because you guys probably wouldn't expect this to happen. But the reason this is here is because we're going to have a lot of storms here today, and they do have a lot of wind shear, and they do have the dynamics to produce some tornadoes. Now, you'll also notice we do have a 2% tornado risk all the way back down in Nebraska, and then another one over in Virginia and North Carolina, where we do have that slight risk. So then our wind risk is also pretty high. We do have a 15% wind risk in southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. Then that wind risk also extends back from extreme northeastern New Mexico all the way back up through Minnesota and Wisconsin. So this is a very big slight risk today. And then that marginal risk does also extend all the way back and through the Carolinas and that region. So now let's look at tomorrow's risk, because we do have 3 separate slight risks. And in between that, we do have a very large marginal risk. So first, you'll notice we do have a slight risk back down in northern South Carolina and southern North Carolina. Now, this is where we do expect some gusty winds and maybe some small hail. Not much of a tornado threat. Maybe an isolated tornado is possible, but I do not think that threat is that high. Then the more focused area, I'd say, is right back here in Ohio and Indiana and Kentucky. Okay, this is where we could have possibly a few tornadoes, mostly isolated though, and we could have some significant wind and hail back here in Ohio. And this includes the entire state of Ohio, okay? So if you live anywhere in Ohio, please be aware. And also if you live in northern Kentucky and eastern Indiana, maybe also southeastern Michigan, please be aware of this. And then we also do have another slight risk all the way back in the high plains, which includes southeastern Colorado, southwestern Kansas, and the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma, and a tiny portion of northeastern New Mexico. Now, these are all the threats. We do have a 15% hail risk for southeastern Colorado and portions of the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. And then we do have 2% tornado risk back up in Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan, and then a tiny little 2% in eastern Colorado and northeastern New Mexico. And then we do have a 15% significant wind risk because we are going to see a potential MCS situation back over in Colorado, Texas, and Oklahoma. And we also have a 15% risk for Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and North Carolina and South Carolina. So that is all for the next 2 days. Then for day 3 on Friday, we do have a marginal risk for the Mid-Atlantic region, and then another marginal risk from Oklahoma all the way back down through southern South Carolina. This may be upgraded to a slight risk, and then another marginal risk in the high plains for portions of central and eastern Colorado, southeastern Wyoming, western Nebraska, and northeastern New Mexico. Now let's take a look at this on the radar, okay? So this is the HRRR, the high resolution rapid refresh model. Now this gives us an idea of what kind of weather we could have today, basically in the form of rain and snow. Now we're basically just going to only see rain until maybe later in September, but you guys get the point. So this will give us an idea of where storms are going to form and what they're going to do. So you'll notice that we have a warm front boundary setting up in Kentucky, Tennessee, portions of Illinois, and Missouri. This has caused some very bad flooding in southwestern Kentucky. We actually do have a flash flood emergency for Mayfield, Kentucky, as I speak. We have already seen 6 to 8 inches of rain fall there, and we could expect another 2 to 4 inches. And this might not move out of the area until maybe, let's say, in the afternoon, okay? But guess what? This is 12 p.m., okay? You're going to notice we're going to have some showers, maybe a few thunderstorms in northern Wisconsin and western Michigan. And then you'll notice we'll also have some thunderstorms popping up in Nebraska and South Dakota, and also in the northern plains in North Dakota and Minnesota. Sorry about that. And then as we go into the later hours, this is 3 p.m., we're going to see a lot of storms fire off. You can see in northeastern New Mexico and eastern Colorado, we're going to be having big time storms there with some big hail and wind threats. And then also some storms back down in Nebraska. And also, this is where our tornado threat is going to start to ramp up in Minnesota and Wisconsin, okay? So this is our tornado threat area. This is 3 p.m. You'll notice all the storms are discrete. They do have a pretty good environment. They have a lot of wind shear. They have a decent amount of helicity. And the significant tornado parameter, you can see here, it's not that high, but there is tornado potential there. Now, we do have a lot of nadir juice, which is what I like to call it, back down in Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, that area. But we're not really going to be seeing anything pop up around there. You can see just a few rain showers, and that's about it. Now, as we head out later into about, let's say, 6 p.m., the storms in Minnesota and Wisconsin are really going to start fizzling out. But that's when you'll notice we'll also have some big-time storms still ongoing in Colorado, Kansas, and Nebraska, maybe a tiny portion in New Mexico. And then as we head out into the later night hours, you're going to see that these storms are going to fizzle out, and eventually they will refire back up in the upper Midwest, the high plains, and South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, that area tomorrow. So now let's real quick check on our heat wave, because we're going to have a big time heat wave in the central U.S., okay? Now you're going to notice, today the highs are going to be all over the place, okay? We're going to be having highs in the northeast 70 to 80 degrees, but then back over in the west, we'll be having highs anywhere from 80 to 110 degrees, especially back down in California and Arizona. This is where we're going to be having big time heat. And then you'll also notice that we have this big heat wave down in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma especially. Now, mostly Texas is the big story, where we could be seeing temperatures anywhere from 115 to maximum 120 degrees. Now, you guys are going to notice, okay? Most of the heat is back down in just about this area, okay? It's going to be locked in this area. But watch what happens as we head out into the future, okay? It's going to skedaddle up towards Montana and Canada in that area, and then it's going to try and go back down into the central U.S. And this is where we could be seeing temperatures anywhere from 115, maybe even to 120. Okay, so you'll notice that will start to happen. So you can see here, This is our high temperatures for Saturday, July 22nd. And you'll notice a little pocket of 100 degrees in Montana. Now you'll notice the heat is starting to get to over here in the west, and then it'll start pushing more north and east and eventually make it into the central U.S. So you'll notice this, and look right here. This is the highs on the GFS model for the 25th. You can see we're going to be having a big time heat wave for much of the central U.S. Okay, widespread 100, maybe 115 degrees in South Dakota, Missouri, Texas. This is everywhere. Okay, this is ranging from Canada all the way back down through Texas, and from Montana all the way down to Florida. Okay, this is one of the biggest heat waves I've ever seen. Like, look at our temperature anomalies. They are skyrocketing. Okay, look all the way back up in Canada. We're going to be having temperatures anywhere from 15 to 30 degrees above normal, and this just continues, and it just actually gets worse. Look, 27th, 30 degrees above normal in South Dakota, North Dakota, and Minnesota. This is a big heat wave. Okay, now it just gets worse. Okay, look at the 28th. We're gonna be having a big heat wave for portions of the central U.S. Now keep in mind, this is 225 hours out. This is going to change. I don't know what it'll change to, but this will change in the future. But I just want you guys to be prepared for this if this does actually happen. And remember, if this happens in your area, keep your body cool, ice yourself, drink lots of water. And look, the heat wave is not going to go anywhere. The 30th, it's still very hot in the west and the central U.S., okay? Central U.S. and California and Arizona, they're going to be the main story for this. It is going to get extremely hot. Please take care of yourself, and we'll have to watch that in the future. And you know what we'll also have to watch out for in the future? The tropics, okay? Because the tropics are really going to start heating up, okay? So right now, the Atlantic is quite calm, but also starting to get really active, especially for this time of year. It's very active. We do have a new area to watch in the off the coast of Africa from a tropical wave. We only have a 20% chance currently. I think they might bump it up at the most to a 60% chance. I do think it could develop, but it's really hard to say because the models were showing it developing into a major hurricane somewhere out here in the Caribbean, in the Gulf of Mexico. Now it's not showing that anymore, but things could still change. So we really do have to watch this in the near future because the Atlantic is absolutely boiling, okay? When I say boiling, we literally had a water temperature at about 5 feet deep in Florida, down here, right where my cursor is, right here. We had a water temperature recorded of 98.5 degrees. That is insanely hot, okay? That is so hot. That's literally basically a hot tub. And then we also still have Tropical Storm Dawn back here. And you can see the track right here. We're going to expect this to curl back around, stay as a tropical storm, and eventually just dissipate and fizzle out as it heads into the northern Atlantic Ocean. And it is probably it's gonna fizzle out very soon. This is not expected to make landfall anywhere in the US unless some random thing happens. This is very unlikely to head to the US. Trust me, you guys do not need to worry about this unless you're in Canada and Newfoundland. You guys should pay attention to this though, because you could get some rain potentially from this on Sunday. I don't think you will, but you could potentially get some rain from it. So that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did a lot of talking, but I just hope you guys enjoyed it because I wanted to make sure everybody could get what's going to happen for their area. And remember, if you live in the central U.S. or anywhere, please be aware of severe weather today because we could be seeing some big time storms. And thank you for coming and watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And